Well, hi there. Welcome back. It's time to spend a little one-on-one time with your buddy Tim. I am Tim, and I hope your summer is off to a fantastic start. I gotta say, mine's not doing too shabby myself. I know summertime, it's kind of funny that when you're a kid, you look forward to it all year round because that means you have no responsibility, no school, you can just do whatever you want. But I have found the older I get, the less I like summer, and it actually is becoming one of my least favorite seasons. Maybe I'm getting crotchety, or maybe my crotchetiness was always there, and now it is just emerging itself a little more every year. But I gotta say that summer generally is not my favorite. I will say where I'm at, the summer hasn't been horrible yet, so that's always nice. I'm glad when the summer doesn't kick off in 90-degree weather in May. You know, here we are at the end of June, and we've yet to see a 90-degree day. And, you know, if we can put that off for as long as possible, that would be even better. Of course, my ideal summer will be cool, 70s, low 80s, maybe a little rain, some clouds. But then you get the wildfires, and so you get that nice thick smoke in the air, and it flashes me back to being a 20-something-year-old cigarette smoker and filling my lungs up with wildfire smoke goodness. Kind of flashes me back to a simpler time. But like I say, I hope your summer's going well thus far. Any big plans for the summer? I myself am going to do a couple camping trips. The wife and I are going to take out our travel trailer that we bought a couple years ago and camp with style, or glamping as the kids say, which is always so much funner. I realized as a child camping was always fun. We did it a lot. But as I've gotten older, the whole sleeping on the ground thing, that's for the birds. And I am too old and, like I say, too crotchety for that. But give me a nice, comfortable foam pad and I can sleep on that. Of course, the funny thing about a foam pad in a tent is I always would find the rock. I could prep a site so meticulously that I thought I got every little object out of the way. It's all smooth. It should be a good night's sleep, and wake up the next morning and have a aching pain in my back and realize there's a pine cone under there, or a tree stump, or a even tree root. And I'm like, how the hell did I miss that? But maybe through the course of the night doing some tossing and turning, kind of unearthed that, and now it's jammed it on my back for the next night or however long the camping trip was. So after a couple of years of that, I was just kind of like, yeah, maybe I think I'm a little old for that. But give me a nice camper trailer with a nice mattress, nice bed, home away from home, as they say. All the creature comforts. You start the campfire, burn some stuff, and then when it's time to go to bed, just go inside, close the door, turn on the heater, boom, camping. Camping old man style is what I like to call it. So, which actually kind of segues me into, there's something I wanted to talk about. It's funny, as I get older, I've noticed things that excite me seem to be so much less than when they were as a younger person. Just the thought of a weekend was enough to be like, oh, right on, it's exciting, and you can't look for you look forward to doing something on the weekend. You got nothing planned. Maybe drink a little too much and wake up in someone's front yard with the sprinklers going on, or something like that. Those are the good old days. But I realize now, it kind of dawned on me just this week, that my, I guess, expectations of excitement the bar has been lowered significantly. I no longer am excited for a weekend. Don't really care. I mean, they're nice. I'm not going to complain. I'm not that guy who's got to work 7 days a week. But I came across something that kind of made me laugh, and I didn't even realize it. But for me, my excitement level is so low, or not even so low. No, that's not correct. It's so old. I'm the old guy that get excited me. So basically, a couple of years ago, I bought in-ground sprinklers that don't need a irrigation system, and for whatever reason, I neglected to put them in. Maybe it's the I can't even think of it. But anyway, so I got sprinklers, and I just neglected to put them in, and I thought that was too much work, and procrastinator. There we go. So I inherited procrastination from my family. They are pretty good procrastinators, and so I have that. And anyhow, so like I say, get back to the story. I had bought in-ground sprinklers. Don't need an irrigation system. Just had to dig a hole, and you can hook up your garden hose to it and put on a timer, and boom, no need to move sprinklers. And bought a couple of those on clearance, and for whatever reason, never put them in. Like I say, maybe the procrastination kicked in and just kind of forgot about it. And then a couple years go by, and just this summer, one of my sprinkler spikes, one of those, you put them in the ground to move around, broke off into the lawn. And I realized I needed to buy another one. And the wife had brought up, well, why don't you just put in the in-ground ones that you got a couple years ago? And lo and behold, I completely forgot about them and pulled one out and read the instructions and put it together. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And so this is probably the evening. So the next morning I was, going to get up early, or not get up early. Yeah. See, that would have been even worse. I'm going to get up at the crack of dawn and put these in. But so the whole night I'm just kind of looking forward to digging holes in my yard to implant in-ground sprinklers, and get up, and it's about 10. I'm not an early riser, so I at least still got that going for me, and dig the first hole, put it in, put the first sprinkler in, and was like, okay, it's not too bad, and got 3 more to go. And so I'm like, on a roll, put all 4 in, and hooked them up and turned them on, and boom, sprinkler pops out of the ground, waters, and then when it's done, it pops back in. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is the highlight of my week right here. And that's when it dawned on me. It's like, so this is where my life has become now, where just something simple as putting unirrigated in-ground sprinklers in is just enough to be like, yeah, this is a good week. So it's like, hey, I guess it's better than, well, you got a colonoscopy coming up, so you don't have to look forward to that. But so anyway, for all you that are my age, it is probably time for a colonoscopy, so might as well get that screening done. And if, it's not as bad as everyone says it is. It's actually pretty pleasant. And if you smile, you can just think of something else. But no, that's that's neither here nor there. But so your old buddy Tim is reminding you to go get a colon screening, because you don't want to get colon cancer, because that does not sound good. But yeah. So anyway, what else is going on? Anything exciting? I can't think of for myself personally. Again, this weekend, I'll just let you in on a little secret here. I've been taking a martial arts for the last 2.5 years. It is Krav Maga, Israeli martial arts. And I've been, like I say, 2.5 years. And tomorrow, Saturday, testing for my level 2. And I'm was a little nervous, a little excited. And it's going to be a long marathon session, 4-hour workout. So I've been prepping myself to get what I need to do. So keep your fingers crossed. And hopefully I only have to take it once, because that's a whole lot of working out that'd be done there. And of course the room we do it in is always hot as hell anyway, so I'm going to have to do extra water. When I took the first level test 2 years ago, it took me 3 days to get fully hydrated again. I was sweating just horribly sweating, just buckets and buckets. And no matter how much electrolytes I took, how much water I drank, I think I even ate a whole watermelon just because I was so dehydrated. That it was so delicious though. But yeah, it just water. Then 3 days later, I was finally like, okay, I feel hydrated again. So I'm kind of anticipating this will be the same. Fortunately, weather's looks like it's going to cooperate. I was kind of worried that it may have been in the 90s. It's going to be an afternoon test. And gosh, even at like 2, that room, just standing there, you can kind of get a good sweat going. So looks like we got some overcast today, and should be cooler. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that it doesn't just rocket into the low 80s, high 90s for tomorrow, because that would suck. And I would have to probably drink 2 gallons of water just to make sure I don't die. But yeah, so that's what I got going on. Other than that, not too much. I wanted to talk about something here, but I think before then, we're going to go ahead and cut away. We have a sponsor again for this episode, so we'll be right back after this commercial break. This is Tim, and I wanted to take a moment and tell you about the Kovlosky family brand embalming fluid. We here at the Kovlosky family brand embalming fluid know there are many tough decisions that need to be made at this difficult time, but we believe that choosing an embalming fluid should not be one of them. Here at the Kovlosky family brand embalming fluid, we use only the best blend of formaldehyde and ethanol to ensure your embalming meets your high standards. So when it is your time for embalming, make sure you ask for the best, the Kovlosky family brand embalming fluid. And look, your best. All right, and we are back. I'd like to thank my sponsor for having the faith to sponsor with me. It's always nice to have a little bit of a budget on this podcast, so I can up the quality just a hair for you. Not too much. It's still low key or low budget, and I want it to always be like that. So you're probably like, yeah, no shit. If you've been here this long, you realize that we don't put a whole lot of money into the show. This is just, it is what it is. But yeah, so. So anyhow, like I say, we are into the summer movie season. I actually kind of made me think about summer movies from the past that I really enjoyed, and I kind of wanted to talk about those over the course of the next couple weeks. And the first one I thought would have been a good starting point. I always think I'm going to call this the Tim's favorite summer bombs from summers past, and we're going to start in the summer of 1989. And so, just for a little context here, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment, and we're going to flash back to a young Tim in the summer of 1989. So the summer of 1989, I was, boy, that's math. I think I was 15 years old, and just doing what 15-year-old kids do, being told what to do and not liking it, and just wanting any sort of responsibility. And the summer movie schedule for summer of 1989 was stacked. It was, looking back, probably one of the better summers. I mean, we have the first Tim Burton Batman, which just kicked everybody's ass. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Ghostbusters 2. Lethal Weapon 2. Turner and Hooch. We had Karate Kid Part 3. License to Kill came out that summer. Uncle Buck, which is one of my favorites. And you had Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the fantastic No Holds Barred starring Hulk Hogan, which I think, honestly, I still have never seen to this day, so I do remember coming out that year. We got Major League with Charlie Sheen, probably one of my favorite baseball movies. Young Einstein from a young Australian actor named Yahoo Seriously. That movie was terrible. But that's not the movie I want to talk about. Twins, which, you heard the Arnold or Stallone podcast. I've already talked about Twins. Beaches, Bette Midler, a nice coming-of-age story. Yeah, if you're a woman. But, hey, to each his own, I guess. So, but, no, I wanted to talk about one movie in particular that came out in the summer of 1989 that I was so stoked for. When I heard this movie was coming out, I could not wait. And that movie was UHF, starring Weird Al Yankovic. When I heard this movie was coming out, I was a big Weird Al Yankovic fan. Because being 15, or at the age of 15, I should say, I was like about 13, 14 is when I kind of realized the personality that I wanted, the taste in music I chose, that, well, actually it kind of chose me, if you want to really be honest about it. But I was from the upbringing that was forced upon me, I wanted some way to have a creative outlet. And so I chose metal music to kind of off-kilter what was being crammed down my throat at that time. So I was very metal. And then, of course, with Weird Al Yankovic, he was obviously the spoof songs, which made fun of songs I hated, but the Weird Al Yankovic songs I liked because, again, he was making fun of songs I didn't like. And so anyhow, I saw, Weird Al Yankovic, a movie. Well, hell yeah. So I waited and waited, and I was so excited to see this movie. This movie came out in July, right in the middle, I guess towards the end of the summer movie season. And unfortunately, it didn't do very well. But as time goes on, I just watched this movie, gosh, not too long ago, like last week. And it was still as great as I remember it. It was probably even a little funnier than I remember it. Of course, we have Weird Al Yankovic as George Newman. We got his buddy David Bow, who was Bob. Fran Drescher was the secretary that worked at the Channel 62. You had Victoria Jackson play Terry, George's girlfriend, Weird Al Yankovic's girlfriend. We got Stanley Brock, who was Harry Billich. Bilchik, Mr. Bilchik, Weird Al's uncle. Let's see, who was the bad guy? Of course, there's always a bad guy, but let's see, R.J. Fletcher, Kevin McCarthy was R.J. Fletcher, and of course we had Michael Richards as Stanley Spadowski, who was the janitor. It's funny, like I said, this movie was great, and then when Seinfeld came out in the early '90s, and I saw Michael Richards on there, he is still Kramer, but before he was Kramer, he was Stanley Spadowski, and so Michael Richards. With the physical comedy that's Michael Richards, and he was not as Kramery in this, but you can definitely see that's how he is. He's just stumbly and just kind of falls and everything. But yeah. So, and of course I did see this in the theater. I was there. I wanted to see it open. I don't know if I saw it opening day. I was a 15-year-old, so I didn't have a ton of disposable income at the time. I don't think I started getting an allowance till I was 17, and then a year later I got a job. So it was just kind of like, well, you no longer get an allowance. So, which is funny though. I'm gonna take a quick side trip. When I finally did get an allowance, my father broke down economics for me, or he tried to. It made no sense to me as a 15, 16-year-old kid, but he had created a allowance chart. And he was like, okay, well, it's going to be every 2 weeks. You're going to get a whole dollar every 2 weeks. And I was just kind of like, even as a kid, I was like, well, that's nice, but it's not like this isn't 1930 where a dollar's not going to go very far. And he's like, well, you don't have to take it. I'm like, well, there's really nothing to take. I can kind of find that kind of allowance out on the street in chump change and stuff. But I kept my mouth closed because, hey, every $2 a month, you never know. I could have used the soda or something. I don't know, but it always made me laugh. That was my first experience to an allowance was here's your dollar every 2 weeks, which it's funny because it was scheduled out for, like I say, every 2 weeks, but payments did not fall on those 2 weeks. So we went months without payments. And when I brought it up, he goes, well, I'm pretty sure I gave it to you. I'm like, well, it's not checked off on the allowance list here. So you owe me $6, please. So it's like, so I wasn't exactly rolling in the dough, as they say, but I made ends meet other way. I was mowing lawns in the neighborhood and stuff, so which I made $5 per lawn. So compared to the allowance, and his justification for it was like, well, if you take a minimum wage at the time, this is about half of that. And I was just like, well, okay, I don't know, I don't work, so I'm not in the working force, so whatever you say. So, but yeah, when I think about the allowances that some of my other siblings have gotten over the years, I look fondly back at the beginning of the allowance, and I want to tell them all, hey, just be glad I'm the oldest, where I trailblazed your ability to make a little more in allowances than I did. So I may still have that dollar. I don't, though. That would have been even funnier if he gave it to me in change. Here's 4 quarters this week. Go have fun. Like, gee, thanks. I can go to the arcade and play Q*bert 4 times. But so anyhow, so like I say, UHF came out July. I was ready. I wanted to see it. I saw it. I loved it. To me, it was the best movie in the summer. Like I say, some of those other movies I ran down, I saw almost all those too. But like I say, Batman was great, but it was Batman, and this is Weird Al. This is UHF. So we'll go quickly. I'll give a quick synopsis. If you've never seen UHF, it's on Tubi right now. If you like Weird Al, I highly recommend you watch it. It's goofy, but it's a fun goofy. Where his name is George Newman. Him and his buddy Bob, they are bouncing around from job to job because obviously George has a super active imagination, and this movie starts with a Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of spoof that started the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's in the wilderness and he's looking for the secret, I don't know, artifact or whatever, and finds it. And it's very similar to, like I say, Raiders of the Lost Ark with some Weird Al Yankovic-ness in it. And so he's going through this scene, and all of a sudden he's getting chased by the big boulder, and he's running past world landmarks and stuff, and finally just gives up and falls down, and the big boulder rolls over him and smashes him into a pancake. And then we see it kind of fade away where he's just glum-faced, just staring at the flat top grill at a fast food restaurant with the hamburger sitting there burning to perfection. And he his buddy snaps him out of his daydream, and he realizes, oh crap, I've been daydreaming this whole time. So, and of course, Bob's like, well, you don't want Big Edna to find out. And then Weird Al, Big Edna, what's she gonna do? And of course, she throws him out, and comically throws him out for that matter too. Has them both by the belts and does one in each arm and gives them the big heave ho, and they go flying up in the air, and you hear them do the and so it's very exaggerated, and then they land 75 feet away from the door, and boom, we got our introduction of these two slackers. So basically, then we meet George's uncle. He's playing poker. He's an extensive gambler, and he wins this UHF station in one of his hands of poker, and of course it's on a pair of twos. He was bluffing, and he won it, and his aunt was pretty, I always wanted to own a TV station, and his uncle's like, nah, nobody watches it. It's on the outskirts of town, and I'm about ready to get rid of it. And she's like, no, we can run it. And he's like, well, they can't even get anyone to manage the place. It's so low powered that nobody wants to work there. And of course, then that's when she realizes, well, hey, George needs the job. He's got nothing going on. Why not let him run it? And so the uncle reluctantly is like, yeah, okay, whatever. And now George is excited for this new opportunity and goes out there and checks out the station in the middle of the night, and it's just dusty and dirty, and they're showing Mr. Ed reruns, and he's just like, he's excited. I mean, the opportunity to run your own TV station, a UHF station, which at the time the VHF was more of the local, the stations like 2 to 12, I believe, and then UHF was much further. So if you're too old to remember, televisions back in the day had 2 TV knobs, and again, a TV knob is something you actually turned the channel. Though they don't have those anymore, but you had the top knob for the VHF stations, and then you had a one below it which had multiple channels for the UHF stations, which again, they were low powered, and you had to be kind of close to the transformer to pick them up. And so this is UHF 62, channel 62, and so, but they show up to work the next day, and they're ready to do some television broadcasting. And so then we cut to the local affiliate, the network affiliate. Of course, they are the smug R.J. Fletcher and his gang of smug, yes men, and they're just talking about the numbers, and one of the janitor comes in, and it's Michael Richards, and they end up firing him because they think he threw away some important report or whatever, and so he's fired. And then we cut back to the UHF, where, of course, we get mail has been delivered for the network at the UHF, and George decides, hey, I'll take it over there and meet the competition. A little friendly competition never hurt anybody. And so he takes it over there, and that's when RJ just kind of turns all bad guy on him and throws him out. And George runs into Stanley Spadowski, and it's like, you want to be my janitor? And he's like, sure. And so they become friends right off the bat. So boom. Now we have our two friends going back to work together and try to get this little channel just to get something. They just want to get something. They have no ratings. They have nothing. And they're showing just, like I say, just Mr. Ed reruns and just television shows from the 50s. And so then they try to come up with, and then we get some Weird Al kind of commercials where, we have the Conan the Librarian. That one's always my favorite, where he's big buff guy in the library, and people are trying to return books on him, and he's like, oh, you are late, and cutting people in half. And someone asks him about some sort of chronicle, and he's like, don't you know the Dewey Decimal System? And so we get commercials like that, which are pretty fun. And then get the old Spatula City, and it's fun. And so because of George's overactive imagination, he tends to forget things. And he forgot about his girlfriend. And so Terry's had enough, and she's broken up with George, and he's just not happy, and decides, because he was doing like a after school TV show, for kids and cartoons and all that stuff, and just doesn't feel like he's in the mood today because, his heart's just been broken. And so he ends up leaving and tells Stanley, hey, you want to take over a TV show? Mid show they're on live, and he's like, yeah, sure. And so of course Stanley becomes a huge TV star. He's got that childlike innocence to him, and people are drawn to it. And so now we have our first TV star on the UHF channel, and as luck would have it, now they're actually hit the ratings. Well, not only did they make ratings, they are number one. So, of course, the network doesn't like this. And so they try to find a way to get the TV station out from underneath George and just get rid of the competition. And so he ends up calling Uncle Harry and realizes, hey, can I buy the station? And of course, Harvey realized, well, Uncle Harvey, yeah, sorry, not Harry, Harvey. Uncle Harvey now has run into a string of bad luck, and he needs to offload this channel fast for some easy cash because his booker is Mr. Big, of course, and so you don't see him. You just see him, the silhouette of his hand behind the big chair, and he's got till the end of the week to come up with $75,000, or it's his head, or something along those lines. So then Harvey decides, I'll sell it to the network guy, and that's when George realizes, hey, we can do a save our station, and they still sell stocks to the station. And of course, everybody comes through, and they're on their way, and then the network decides, oh, we'll just kidnap Stanley Spadowski. He's the TV show or TV star of this whole dog and pony show. So they take Stanley, and once Stanley's gone, then people kind of lose I don't want to. But then George goes back and save him, and then he has a kind of a little Rambo take off and stuff. That's pretty cool. And get Stanley back, and boom, don't you know that at the very last minute they earn the money, they give the money back to Mr. Big, and now the TV station's theirs, and they win the day. And of course, while this is going on, Victoria sees what they're doing at the telethon and goes and talks to Mr. Fletcher about they're just a little channel, you should leave them alone. And of course, Mr. Fletcher's real character comes out, and I should mention too, the UHF has a scientist that is able to set up closed circuit TV into the Mr. Fletcher's office. So of course he's there at the right time and captures Mr. Fletcher saying some derogatory things about the community that he doesn't give a shit about, and he's like, this community means as much to me as a festering bowl of dog snot, and just so now you know his true feelings. And while he's trying to plead to his audience, that's when Milo runs the video and shows telling him what he thinks of this station. And so anyway, of course, now the public doesn't want to do with him. And then, as you know, the SEC finds out, oh, you're late on your licensing renewal, so you're off the air. And so everything works out great, and the UHF channel wins the day, and yay, everybody's happy. And so, but yeah, so that was, like I say, that was fun. That was great. I just watched it recently. It was really good. It's funny. Fortunately, like I say, it didn't do very well, and it was actually considered a bomb. It was one of those movies that, when you think of, back in 1989, if a movie bombed, very rarely would you ever see it. It would never see the light of day. It would just be, oh, it didn't do very well. Okay, so there's no home release. Like nowadays, everything's released everywhere, relatively quickly even. But back then, if it didn't make any money, they weren't going to put it on videotape, VHS, which is what was released at the time. Everybody had the VHS tapes. And so when this movie didn't do well, I didn't see it for years. It was like, oh man, remember UHF? It kind of became one of a folklore where I'd tell people about it, and like, I kind of remember it, but I never saw it. And I didn't have cable, so it didn't, I'm sure it made the cable run. But then after that, I never saw it again until many years later, where they actually released it on DVD. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know about it, because I had different priorities in life. I wasn't following Weird Al as closely as I did in 1989. And I think I was doing some window shopping at the local entertainment store, as I did frequently back then. And there's weird UHF, and I'm like, holy shit. So of course I had to buy it, and I still have that copy. And I mean, now it's been released on 4K, and it's like, well, yeah, kind of, it'd be nice, but I don't know. Some movies I will upgrade, others, maybe I'll upgrade UHF, but as of right now, it's pretty good on my original DVD pressing. So, but it was definitely, when I think back to that summer, like I say, those other huge blockbusters, UHF has always been the one that I'm like, yeah, that's the one I wanted to see. Even Indiana Jones and Last Crusade I wanted to see, but not nearly as badly as I wanted to see UHF. So that was a good summer. I looking back at this list of those movies for that summer, that was a good summer for movies. And it's kind of interesting where we've gone summer-wise, because thinking about movies for this summer, 2026, there's really nothing that I'm like, ooh, I really want to see that. Or, oh, that looks like it's a good movie. And Granted, some of these are sequels in 1989, and so, but they weren't. It wasn't such like huge sequels. Like not everything was sequels. I mean, like I say, there's Lethal Weapon 2. We got Ghostbusters 2. Star Trek 5 came out. I don't even think I ever saw that one. I didn't really. After Star Trek 4, I was just kind of like, bleh. Not to mention, I was never really a huge Star Trek fan to begin with. But yeah, I mean, we got a Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I think that's what that one was. And Friday the 13th, part 7, 8. Oh, that's right. No, that was 8. That movie was Jason Takes Manhattan. Oh, how can I forget about that classic piece of cinema? But yeah, it was, like I say, you had some sequels sprinkled in there, but the majority of them were pretty originals original movies, and just others that were just kind of like there. And UHF kind of falls in the middle. Let's see where it ranked on that summer list. Of course, Batman was the number one, made the most money. Where are we at here? We'll keep scrolling. Okay, there's UHF at number 41, only made $6,157.157 out of 89 movies. So that's a little bit above the halfway point there, but wow, it actually made more money than Twins. Go figure that. But yeah. So anyway, okay. So sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. So. But yeah, that's my the first summer movie bomb that is one of my favorites. There's a couple others. Well, it's funny. There's more than a couple because it seems like every movie that I like from the summertime just doesn't do very well. Maybe I'm just that niche demographic that likes. I'm not even gonna say garbage, but stuff that the majority of people are just like, whatever. But I'm like, oh, I gotta love that movie. So Weird Al Yankovic's UHF was the first one for that list, and like I say, there'll be another one. When I already know what the second one I'm going to do. So, but yeah, so I think that's all I have for this week. Not a whole lot going on, like I say. In-ground sprinklers with no irrigation system. Woohoo! Go figure. There was something else that excited me, but I can't remember. I should have written it down, but it's along the lines of that vein of just something so stupid that it made me just like, wow, that was awesome. But actually, no, now that I think about it, I do remember it real quick, so... If you don't want to hear me old man about something, hey, it's been great spending time with you. So anyway, so it is along the lines of home lawn maintenance. We're out shopping for a fertilizer spreader. My big spreader broke, and I was going to buy another one. And I like to price things before I just go out and buy them because you can overpay for stuff. And was at the local Walmart and hardware stores and comparing prices, and needed to get a big push spreader, and the going price was $59.99. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what. Let's see what Home Depot went there, $59.99. I'm like, okay, well, good. I guess we'll wait till payday because I don't have $60 on me right now. And fast forward to 2 days later, I'm driving to work, and there's a little. I think it's where they sell estate stuff, and every time I go out there, there's a bunch of stuff on the sidewalk, and it's usually priced, everything on the sidewalk's $4 or $5 or what have you. Well, as I was going to work the other day, I happened to look over and everything for $3. And wouldn't you know, there's a fertilizer spreader right there, and pulled out my wallet real quick and realized I had $5 bill in there, and turned around the block and parked real quick, and hey, everything out there for $3. He's like, yep. Okay, I'd like to buy this. $3, no tax. So boom, there you go. Got my fertilizer spreader, which is like exactly the same one that I would have bought new. I mean, granted, it wasn't new, but it was the same model. I don't know if they have models, but you get my idea. So $3, boom, new fertilizer spreader, saved myself $57, and now I don't have to worry about buying one. So that was my other life is good. So. But yeah, so that's where I am in my life. So hopefully I didn't bore you to death. It was like, oh my God, this dude's going on about fertilizer spreaders. What a dork. So, but yeah, I am, and that's okay. I don't care. I own it. So, so again, we're going to go ahead and put a bow on this package because I think we pretty much covered everything I wanted to go over. Like I say, I want to thank you for spending some time with me, your buddy Tim. Like I say, you can always email me at arnoldorstallone@gmail.com. I think that's what it is. I don't know. I'll have to look at it. It's been so long I don't really see it anymore. So I just along those lines. Or you can find me on YouTube and send me a message over there, Arnold or Stallone Podcast on YouTube. So, yeah. So next week I'm going to try to come back with another Arnold or Stallone. This one's going to be from the summer of 1993. I believe both these movies came out this summer, and so I'm really looking forward to this one. So we will be talking about The Last Action Hero and Cliffhanger. So, go ahead and check that out, and I will talk to you then.